I'm about to show you how this community event on human trafficking in Kootenai County had some key people in attendance, and it wasn't organic at all. They were staged for a political move crafted to prop up Sheriff Bob Norris during a heated election battle with his opponent, Dan Wilson. The irony? Norris has repeatedly denied human trafficking is even a problem in Kootenai County, and we're going to get into that. But first, some quick context. We recently published an article on Liberty Without Compromise comparing Dan Wilson's campaign warnings to Norris's actual track record. Wilson predicted a lack of transparency, denial of trafficking in the county, alienation of law enforcement partners, political use of the sheriff's office, retaliation against critics through proxies, ethical violations and internal fear, and the mishandling of high-profile cases. Since re-election, Norris has been linked to lawsuits for defamation and retaliation, press events that dodge real answers, political bullying through proxies, high staff turnover, morale issues, and massive budget increases, transparency concerns, and ongoing ethical controversies. And at the center of it all, Norris's repeated efforts to downplay or flat out deny human trafficking in our county. Let's take a closer look.
Do we have an increase, or have you seen an increase in human trafficking in Kootenai County? And if so, how are you?
You know, we have not seen any early warning indicators of that here at all. We just have not. It's on our radar. We believe that it's very, very important.
Norris still denies human trafficking exists in Kootenai County, but he's changed tactics. Early on, he claimed that there were no indicators at all, but as the 2024 campaign heated up, he shifted to a straw man argument, dodging trafficking questions by pivoting to online predators. It's a clever deflection. You appear concerned, but avoid accountability. We first caught this at the October 2024 event hosted by The Innocent, where organizer Nate Lewis deferred to Norris on jail stats. But why was Norris even there? That takes us back to this group seated front and center. Let's take a closer look at the key players seated at this event. First, Davalu Cummings, a longtime political insider. She has held leadership roles in the Kootenai County Republican Women's Federated, advised both Sheriff Bob Norris and Pastor Paul Vanoy of Candlelight Church, sits on the Coeur d'Alene Arts Commission, runs a law enforcement nonprofit, and has a background with Homeland Security. She is deeply entrenched in the political machine here locally. Next to her is Stefanie Fetzer, a political activist with roots in Sacramento's medical freedom movement. She aligned with the controversial Freedom Angels and was present, though not arrested, at a protest where multiple members of that group were. Since arriving in Kootenai County around 2020, Fetzer embedded herself in local politics, quickly becoming a mouthpiece for Norris and launching social media attacks on his opponent, Dan Wilson. Her playbook? Pretend neutrality while aggressively discrediting candidates that she opposes. Next is Shelley Croal, local realtor and mother of Shauna Lambert, Fetzer's longtime ally. Croal mirrored the same tactics, working to undermine the Wilson campaign and publicly supporting Fetzer and Cummings. Then there's Travis McNault, who goes by Tad, a frequent participant in local political chat groups, also pushing the pro-Norris narrative. And across the table, Erin Barnard, who's been anti-Wilson from the start. Fetzer, Cummings, and Barnard are all active members of Candlelight Christian Fellowship and serve as political advisors to Pastor Paul Vanoy. Their appearance at this human trafficking event wasn't random, it was strategic. Human trafficking became political in Kootenai County after Norris denied its existence and Wilson publicly challenged him. And even after the election, the drama continues. On a recent post where Dan Wilson called out Norris again, a familiar name popped up. Doreen Russell, another anti-Wilson voice echoing the exact same talking points as Fetzer, Barnard, Croal, and Lambert. We'll dig deeper into Fetzer in a future episode, but this gives you a clear picture. This event for them wasn't about raising awareness, it was a political stage and they filled seats with their actors. In a recent Facebook post, Doreen Russell addressed Dan Wilson, referencing the October 2024 human trafficking event. She says, "As a political adversary, You showed up for campaign purposes. You know Sheriff Norris addressed the topic, and the trafficking expert agreed that online predators are the biggest threat. You know there's a task force and that he speaks at school events to educate the public. Are you going to deny that? Doreen's using Norris's classic straw man tactic, dodging the real issue. Wilson's point was never about online predators. He was calling out the sheriff for repeatedly denying that human trafficking exists in Kootenai County. By shifting the conversation to online predators, a separate but serious issue, Norris avoids taking responsibility. Doreen parrots this deflection, framing it as a response while sidestepping the real concern. This rhetorical pivot was on full display at the Innocent event in October, where Norris surrounded himself with political allies. Doreen's reference to it now isn't random, it's part of a calculated campaign strategy. Here's another important detail I don't want you to miss. Both Dan Wilson and Bob Norris were scheduled for interviews with the Hagedorn Group on the evening of October 14th, the same night the Innocent hosted their human trafficking event across the street at Life Public House. Originally, Norris was set for 8:30 p.m. and Wilson for 9:05 p.m. That would have limited Norris's ability to attend the event, but that morning, Hagedorn updated the schedule, moving Norris to 3:06 p.m. This freed him up for the entire evening at the Innocent event. Meanwhile, Wilson stayed on schedule for 9:05 p.m., planning to attend the event first. But during the presentation, a Hagedorn staffer interrupted twice, asking Wilson to leave early for his interview because they were ahead of schedule. Wilson declined, saying he planned around the original timing. These last-minute changes effectively cleared the way for Norris to dominate the event and made it harder for Wilson to be seen or heard. Fast forward to 2025, and we see Doreen using this very event as political ammo, accusing Wilson of showing up for campaign purposes despite clear rules against it. In truth, it was Norris who showed up in full uniform, flanked by KCSO staff, FOP reps, and political allies, all at an event about a topic he had spent years downplaying. It wasn't just a coincidence. It was a strategic move to reclaim the narrative and to undercut Wilson's growing credibility. Sheriff Bob Norris's 2024 win should have been smooth sailing, and on paper it was. He was backed by the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee and their massive war chest. They branded him, funded him, and helped put him in office. But their grip on this county goes deeper, recruiting operatives like Davalu Cummings and Stefanie Fetzer to protect their power at all costs. Dan Wilson exposed real red flags during the campaign, and even though Norris won, his image took a hit. Now, with active lawsuits, a bloated budget proposal jumping from 30 to 54 million, and national headlines questioning his ethics, the spin machine has got to work overtime. That's why they still carry water for him and why we will keep exposing them. This is Liberty Without Compromise and the Bureau of Bootlickers. I'm Donna Wilson.